These surgical techniques make sewing a button so easy. Start by taking a bite of the fabric and securing it with the surgeon's knot. Then throw a couple square knots and cut off the short end. Take another small bite of fabric and thread the needle through the first hole of your button. Then go back through an opposite hole, taking another bite of fabric before emerging through an adjacent hole. Repeat this process at least 3 times to secure the button in place. Then wrap the thread around the button 3 times. Take a bite through the thread at the base of the button and pass the needle through the loop created, repeating this twice to prevent the thread from unraveling once it is cut. You can create a loop for your button using a modified horizontal mattress suture, tying it off with a surgeon's knot. A couple square knots can be added for extra security, and it's as easy as that to repair a button using surgical technique. So if you ever need to replace a button, just take a number 12 scalpel blade and cut through the threads on the top of the button, and use it to dissect out the threads attached to the fabric. Gently pull all the pieces of thread out of the fabric. Cutting them into smaller pieces will make this easier. Then grab a shiny new button and don't you worry, because here's how I tie running horizontal mattress sutures. These have the same tension relieving and skin edge averting properties as simple horizontal mattress sutures, but are better for longer wounds that would take too long to close with simple horizontal mattress sutures. One of the downsides to horizontal mattress sutures is that the suture material does not externally cross the wound margin, making them extremely difficult to remove. So it is recommended to place running percutaneous sutures intermittently to facilitate easier removal. When placing the final suture, don't pull it through completely, but use it to tie off the strands. And that's how you tie a running horizontal mattress suture. Here's how to tie a self-locking starting knot for continuous sutures. Take the 2 strands of suture material and wrap them around your needle holders 3 times. Then pass the end without the needle through the loops to tighten the knot. Slide the knot towards the skin, cut off the free end, and start your continuous sutures. Here's a technique to stitch subcutaneous tissue with this barbed suture material, specially created for knot-free suturing. Take the first bite in the intact tissue above the incision, moving in a direction away from the incision. The fixation tab should sit at the edge of the incision above the tissue. Then take the second pass above and perpendicular to the first to lock the stitch. Now you can stitch the incision in a continuous pattern. The problem with continuous suturing using regular suture materials is that failure of any part of the suture will result in loosening along its entire length, as there are only 2 fixation points at the beginning and end of the suture pattern. These barbed sutures have points of fixation along the entire pattern, so they're even more reliable than interrupted sutures, with the added benefit of avoiding knots that would weaken the suture material and increase the risk of irritation or infection. As a result, they've been a preferred suture material in many cosmetic procedures and have now gained popularity in laparoscopic surgeries where tying knots is more difficult. When the closure is complete, take 3 bites in the opposite direction to lock the end in place, and cut the end flush with the skin. If you rupture a tendon, the Delmar knot will save the day. To tie this knot, wrap the suture material around the needle holder twice, then grab the 2 parts of the same strand and rotate the needle holder clockwise to wrap them around it. Pull the short end through to tighten the knot, then add a surgeon's knot over the top of it. This knot will not unravel under the high tensions in your tendon. If you make a mistake when suturing, sometimes you can pull the needle back through the flesh to fix it, but this may lead to the suture snapping, which also commonly happens when trying to over-tighten your knots, or when using these Olsen-Hagar needle holders, which are needle holders that have scissors built into them. And so sometimes when you try to grab the suture, you end up grabbing it with the scissor portion and end up cutting it. But instead of completely unraveling the suture and starting all over again, you can use a bend technique. Bends are knots used to reattach 2 ends of suture material. The Carrick bend, or sailor's knot, is one that's used in eye surgery. Use the cut end of suture to make a loop that looks like a fish. Place the new suture under the head of the fish and thread it over the fractured portion of the fish's tail and under the non-fractured portion. Then pull the portion you placed under the head up through the head of the fish. Then thread the end through this new loop to form a second fish that's facing the opposite direction to the first. The knot is tightened by pulling the new and old suture ends in opposite directions. Now just cut the loose ends and continue suturing. Anytime a vein blows, it's blamed for being a bad vein. But what if some changes in technique could help prevent this from happening? First of all, veins should always be entered with the bevel of the needle facing up. This means that the smallest and sharpest point of the needle goes through the vein first, causing less trauma. Using the thinnest needle possible will also help with this. But needles smaller than 23 gauge can damage the blood cells as they try to squeeze through the tiny hole. So a blood test on blood collected with a 25 gauge needle can give inaccurate results. It's also important to advance the needle into the vein rather than just poking it with the edge of the needle. This ensures that tiny movements of the hand can't displace it very easily. For larger veins, an angle of less than 30 degrees needs to be used to prevent the needle from going through the vein. For smaller veins, a very small angle is needed, which may be difficult to achieve with a straight needle, resulting in the needle going all the way through the vein, causing leakage of blood and bruising. Instead, when uncapping the needle, use the cap to bend the needle around 20 degrees, making sure to bend it towards the bevel side to achieve the required angle. Introducing cute microscopic monsters. First up, Yersinia pestis comes disguised as a tiny safety pin. But don't be fooled, there is nothing safe about bubonic plague that can cause bleeding and blackening of fingers. Aw, Giardia, the little smiley face that causes foul-smelling diarrhea. Cute and creepy Demodex mites resemble tiny cigars with legs that cause patchy hair loss. Leptospira are these coils of chaos that can make you turn yellow. And these are not Easter eggs. Ancylostoma hookworm eggs may look oddly festive, but are definitely not a treat. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. But capillaria eggs from bladder worms are definitely not lemonade material. Babesiosis makes it look like your red blood cells swallowed butterflies. Cute but risky, especially in tick-infested areas. Cytoxoamphilis are hauntingly beautiful rings under the scope, but bobcat fever is not something you want to give the love of your life, especially if they are a cat. These mini ghostly noodles are Toxicara larvae swirling their way through tissues. Spooky, right? Microsporum are the spiders of the microscopic world, mimicking microspiderwebs and causing ringworm. Trypanosoma are the eels of blood, and Histoplasma capsulatum is a microscopic berry, but its fungal clusters from bat poop cause heavy-duty coughing. When doing surgery, sometimes we need to cut through large blood vessels. This transfixing ligature is perfect for big vessels with thick walls. It begins by taking a full thickness perpendicular bite into the vessel, slightly offset to one side. The smaller portion of the vessel is encircled with a simple throw. The free ends are then wrapped around the opposite side of the vessel. A double throw is tied and pulled tight to constrict the artery. Then square knots are added to keep everything in place. This ligature is often used near where the vessel is being cut because it has no option of slipping off the cut edge, resulting in internal bleeding after surgery. It's also essential that this ligature is not placed by itself and that a circumferential ligature is placed beforehand to prevent any bleeding as the needle goes through the artery. Braided suture material is the best option for ligating vessels because it has higher knot security. For transfixing ligatures, the best option would be a braided material that's coated to make it smooth. This will minimize the trauma to the vessel as it passes through. The use of an atraumatic suture needle will also help to minimize damage to the vessel, so that it's less likely to burst or leak after surgery.